Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you all here today with us on a very thought-provoking topic on virtual education, the new normalcy during coronavirus pandemic. And we all know that the coronavirus has in fact resulted in the schools shut down all across the world, colleges shut down all across the world, and globally over 1.2 billion children are out of the classroom, right? And as a result, education has changed dramatically with the distinctive rise of e-learning. Teaching has being undertaken remotely and on digital platform. We are seeing so much of dynamic change which is happening here. And the research which is happening right now, it suggests that the online learning has been shown an increase in retention of information. It's changed, and it takes less time. It means that the change where the coronavirus has brought in is here to stay, and this is how the things are going to be moving ahead. To discuss this, we have a very august panel of panelists with us, and I'll just name out the names of the panelists, and also we're going to be talking very intricately on these topics. So today we have His Excellency Cyril Gorbachev with us, and he's the former Prime Minister, Minister of Economics and Infrastructure of the Republic of Moldova, and he's an expert economist of the IOED. Then we have Mr. Dr. Jagannath Patnaik. He's a Vice Chancellor, ICFAI University Sikkim. Then we have Janal Malik. He's the Vice President, JNU Hockey Society and visiting faculty member, North India. And he's a regional chapter of Chartered Accountant Academy of Character Education of Jammu. Then we have Dr. Swati Chakrabarti. She's a research consultant, National Human Rights Commission, New Delhi, and PhD research scholar of Human Rights Course, University of Calcutta, India. Then we have Mr. Sashikant, IPS. He's a major anti-drug and pro-human rights activist of the country. Then we have Mr. Frank. He's the Secretary General in International Parliament, USA. Then we have Mr. Fedor. He's the Ambassador and Resident Representative of Republic of Moldova and Ukraine. Along with that, we have Major General Shashi Asthana, a very well-known personality. He's the Chief Instructor at USAF India. Also joining us today is Mr. Krishan Kant Agarwal. He's the Chancellor, Lingya University, Faridabad, and he's the founder, Vice Chancellor, Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University. Then joining us is Commodore HP Singh. He's the Vice Chancellor, ICFAI University, Badi. Then we have Ajay Prakash Srivastava. He's the Director, Maharishi Ayurveda Product International, USA, and President of Solar Energy Society of India. Then is Brigadier Dr. Verghese Abraham. He's Vice Chancellor, Hyderabad Technical University of Management. Also with us today is General P.K. Malik, a very well-known personality and a very visionary in different aspects of the society and also the education, and he's the key defense expert of India. Having said so, the methodology for today's webinar would be like, we shall have questions which will be given to the panelists, and they will be giving in your best, their best, solutions to you, which you can take home and utilize in various facets wherever you are working. Right. So I will now request Dr. Arvind Sharma. He's the chairman and the president of the International Organization of Education Development, and to give his opening remarks of the webinar today. Dr. Arvind Sharma, sir.
Good morning, everybody. I would like to express my thanks to all the dignitaries for sparing time from their busy schedule for today and webinar on virtual. I am also thankful to the moderator, Colonel Inderjeet Singh Banana, for managing and putting all the efforts to make this webinar as a successful one. As far as today's topic is concerned, I am of a view that the discussion of today's webinar should come up with concrete solutions to the problems rising in education sector and sectors associated with it, as education is the mother of all types of development. Enlightenment and empowerment comes with education. Governments around the world have temporarily closed educational institutions in an attempt to contain the spread of COVID-19 pandemic. These nationwide closures are impacting over 72% of the world's student population. Immediate measures are essential to ensure continuity of learning schools and universities. Open source digital learning solutions and learning management software should be adopted so teachers can conduct teaching online. With a rapid increase of mobile internet users in India, which is expected to reach 85% households by 2024, technology is reaching even the remotest part of the country. This can change the schooling system and increase the effectiveness of learning and teaching. There are many advantages of online learning, which I would like to sum up in brief. Access in expertise, reduction in commuting cost and time, vast documentation, increased instructor student time, networking opportunities, flexibility. The advantages are numerous. However, there can be multiple drawbacks to online education to traditional classroom educational life. Little or no face-to-face interaction. Intense requirement for self-discipline. Intense requirement for self-direction. Accessibility issue. No practical exposure. Online education is not for everyone. If for you the advantage and strength outweigh the disadvantage and weaknesses, then it is probably right for you. Thank you.
Thank you for your wonderful thoughts, sir. And I will request His Excellency Gorbachi to give his viewpoints on the virtual education, sir. And it will be really nice to give your thoughts on it, sir.
Thank you. Indeed, I would like first of all to welcome everyone to this webinar. I think it's a great opportunity for all of us to have this open discussion and to share our thoughts within or among us. At the same time, I think what is happening now on the earth is something that out of this happening we can learn a lot. First of all, we can adapt ourselves, and I think that especially in education system, a new era of education is happening now, and I see a lot of opportunities with this. In the same time, it's a pity that people are dying and talking about this pandemic and about COVID-19. It's something that we never thought it can happen, but this is also a lesson for the humanity overall. I would like to thank to the panelists for getting or coming to this webinar and being talking on the panels. In the same time, what I know and what I think that every single country took this challenge in a different way, and at the end of the day, everybody will share the best experience, and we should be, as countries and as regions, we should be very open to get the new experience or the best experience from the country. And that's one of our, I think, one of our main topic and targets today, to be able to share different experiences and to be able to give, deliver to the governments in order to be able to apply. I wish all of us a good webinar and a good discussion. And thank you, Mr. Sharma and his team, of course, for organizing this event.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your thoughts and taking the things further. In fact, if you look at it, the education has been one of the forefronts as regards the online concepts are concerned. And even before COVID, we are already seen a high growth and adoption of the education technology, right? And it was anticipated that almost EdTech, which is a global company, has thought of going in for 18.6 billion in 2019 itself, and they had projected the online market to be 150 billion by 2025. And with the pandemic, I think it's the complete thing has been telescoped. And what we are seeing is that there's a total change in the overall scenario as regard to online education is concerned. So my first question to the panelists is, how is the education sector responding to the COVID-19? And what's the kind of demand? What's the kind of challenges what are being faced by it, and how we are trying to take it further? So I'll request General Malik to start the discussion first and give your points, sir.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, an absolute delight to be this eminent panelist. I'm sure I personally am looking forward to learning a lot from the eminent people here. Well, it's been a great marvel as to how the education system has shown its resilience and adaptability to this crisis that has come upon to us. The degree of initiatives that have been taken, the degree of comradeship that has developed amongst the educationists to arrive at a common platform where sharing of knowledge, which is a very important thing as brought out by the moderator, would only have happened if we had the courage to accept what is happening and the ability to adapt and change our methodologies of how we impart education. Well, I would say also that there have been numerous challenges in this particular aspect. Some of our academicians may not, or the teachers may not be so conversant with the modern methodologies and their ability to be able to prepare their talks, the ability to be able to structure their syllabus to a particular methodology by where, without a physical contact, they are able to impart the knowledge which is there. Of course, we'll discuss some of these in greater detail in the subsequent questions. But needless to say that while this aspect of online education, virtual education, may be a perfect solution for acquiring knowledge on a particular subject, to be able to acquire domain knowledge. But is it really going to be the path for the future, or is it really going to be just a stopgap arrangement? Is a challenge which we all have to look at. While we also consider that some of our education system, particularly in India or maybe in Moldova also, would be not so adapted at, do we have the kind of virtual technology available at the grassroots level? Are our government schools equipped for such challenges? Is something that we need to consider. But as it stands today, we have risen to the occasion. We have risen to be able to take on the challenge. Thank you.
Sir, thank you, sir. Very nice, sir. And I'll request General Asthana, sir, to give your views on the same, sir.
Firstly, we are going through an unprecedented time, and this pandemic is an unprecedented one of this century. While everyone knows as to what are the implications of this pandemic, but the best thing is that this pandemic has also taught us as to what our weaknesses were and how we can adopt. And education system is no different. And therefore, the education system has come out much stronger with much more innovations and much better use of technology. We do have a lot of challenges. Challenges of a developing country are different. When I look at globally, UNESCO has got different challenges. UNESCO has also launched a COVID-19 hub, and therefore they are addressing at the global level. There are organizations addressing at the regional level. There are also organizations addressing at the national level. And our government and Niti Aayog and the Education Ministry, they are also looking at differently. But the challenges are innumerable depending upon the type of the teachers and the students we are addressing to. We have different kinds of challenges which we will be discussing subsequently. But sufficient to say that you have a group of students who do have computers, you have another group which have mobiles, you have another group which have televisions, and you also have another set which have nothing. So the education system somehow has to adopt to all the requirements, which I am sure is going to come out in this wonderful discussion which has been organized. I am pleased and honored to be part of this discussion. And as you have very rightly crafted out 4 questions, we will address all those 4 questions. And in all those 4 questions, I am sure all the challenges and the opportunities will come out as the way it should. And perhaps we'll go from here much wiser through the experiences or exchange of ideas of each other. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir, and thank you very much for your insightful points, sir. I'll request Mr. Shashikant to bring out his viewpoint on this particular topic, sir.
Well, good morning, gentlemen. It indeed is a privilege to be here amongst eminent panelists. So the question that's been thrown open is how the education sector is responding to COVID-19 situation. As I can see it, the system is in total disarray. Reason, and what I'm talking is about the globally phenomena. The reason is only one, that it has taken everybody by surprise. And of course, if we talk of the youth, yeah, there were certain courses, certain system of educations which were available online. I'm sorry, I prefer to use the word online because to me, education can never be virtual. It's an organic thing, organic concept, which always develops and adapts itself to the different situations. Now, when we talk about the education system, how it has been affected, I suggest that we can discuss this thing with respect to different segments. As far as the students are concerned, they can be subdivided into 4 major groups. You must have heard about the K-12 group. K-12 group consists of 2 sets of students. Students who are less than 12 years, kindergarten up to 12 years, and then 12 till about 19 when they go to the school, and their grad courses and postgrad courses. So education system as we see it, online system, it has to be different for each of these groups. Whereas it might not be very, very useful for the K-12, lower K-12 group. Maybe in other sections it's going to be very, very important, and it can, but again, I said that whatever it is, it has to be changed, it has to adapt itself to the emerging situations and emerging challenges. Because if it doesn't, then again, there's, like I said, that K-12 group, they require a different kind of approach altogether. Maybe they're good at computers and online when they play and develop their skills through computers and playing games suited to their own age groups. But I suggest that all the panelists, if they kindly talk about these different segments of youth, probably we all will be benefited more. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And I'll request Dr. Abraham to bring in his viewpoint on the overall virtual education topic, sir.
Thank you very much. I sincerely thankful for this webinar, and especially in this question in which we are addressing is what is the adaptation
time required for online and what has yielded in this education system. Basically, this adaptation was very fast and the real-time paradigm shift has happened. It has yielded in diversity. Whosoever is such teacher, his name is flies like a jet, and there is no limitation of students joining it. I thought that this is happening only in the professional colleges. No, it is starting from the primary schools onwards. This adaptation has taken on very faster mode and means. Whereas now it is the competency of the people, or which matters as on today. If at all, the challenges has changed the mindset not only of the teachers but also of all the students. We could get more hours for teaching. The work from home starts normally by early morning 7:30, and finally it ends up with the feedback system at evening 7:30. We have got a lot of time available to us. The basic thing which is running, we have done upskilling. It has become easier. Research work, getting boost through of transparency to access the repositories. Conveniently, this lockdown basically has changed, and we have education has adopted in a faster way to make it as an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Very nice input, sir. And I think it will be wonderful for everyone. Dr. Swati ma'am, I'll request you to give your viewpoints as well, and tell on the virtual education how you look at right now what the situation is.
First of all, thank you so much. Can you able to hear me, sir?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So as a working with the National Human Rights Commission for some time, and then I shifted my terms to School Guru EduServe. It's a online platform, and they're basically doing distance education for all the universities in India and even abroad. So Faculty for Human Rights and Women's Studies, I noticed that initially the universities were not ready to give the platform to this opportunity to this particular group of people. But now they're more intent to provide each and every student free of cost, first of all. So they have started, most of the university, like University in North Bengal, they have already started providing free platform to the student. So they can easily avail, because North Bengal is a very, not very much geographically developed. So students were there, they were not able to get easy accessibility of internet. So that's one of a major cause and drawback of this virtual education. So they are providing a very low budget memory chip, so they can easily avail with their mobile and with their laptops. They can avail, first of all, for the university. And for the school education, teacher have already known about so many edutech support system like Zoom and others, Skype even, and already Google Meet, they have launched free accessibility. So I think teacher who were not ready to accept the online education, they are also very interested to do this online education for the sake of the student. In general, the scenario has been changing, but as already one of the panelists respected, they have already mentioned that some will be excluded, because who are differently able student, because I was working with differently able student when I was with NHRC, and who were visually impaired. They would not feel the same where the special educators is giving to them. So that is one of the biggest challenge for the differently able student. So I think with our discussion, it will be very beneficially for the excluded people who actually not excluded, but they feel mentally they are excluded. So I think we can provide the best solution to them to make them included in our society. in a best way with our education, and it is a normal thing. So normalcy, I think, it's a best webinar tagline, that how in this crisis we can actually make ourselves normal. So I think with the journey of all together, we will definitely find some commendable solution from our respected panelist comments, and I think we all together will definitely find out the solutions. So thank you so much. As of
Yeah.
definitely, I will provide some write up, that whatever I thought to
In
discuss
fact, it
with
would
you.
be really wonderful, because you see what has happened is, like a country like India, where we are facing a challenge of the education now. We have two parts of it. It's a total digital divide, and what you actually brought up, that most part of West Bengal or other states where you don't have the net connectivity or the data connectivity, and the phones are just 2G. They are not even a special the smartphones. So how do you really communicate with them? How do you teach those kind of students? So it's going to give a real big digital divide between the people who do have it and people who don't have it. And how do you bring in those people, included in your ambit of giving the virtual education to all? So it's really wonderful point, ma'am, and I think it's fantastic. Now I'll request Commodore HP Singh to give his viewpoints. I'll just unmute him. I think not able to add him as a panelist, but I'll just HP sir, if you can unmute yourself, and I think you can give your points on the present scenario. Commodore HP Singh. Commodore HP Singh, can we hear from you? Okay, no issues. Sahil sir, I'll come to you now as to how do you look at this particular situation altogether? General Sahil sir?
Hello. Hello.
Sahil sir, am I audible to you? Okay, I think some problem with the audio of General Sahil. Sir, and Dr. R.D. Sharma, can we have your views on it?
Yeah,
Dr.
good morning to all of you. Yeah, Dr. R.D. Sharma here. There are two aspects to this. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are two aspects of the whole issue. One is the people who have got access to online education, and the vast majority of the students in India who have no access to any kind of digital platforms. I speak from my own experience of enabling a large number of underprivileged children in Delhi. And Delhi is the capital of the country, where I found children, they had, it's difficult for them to get their basic needs together. Looking at a phone or getting access to any digital platform is next to impossible. So my solutions to the whole issue is divided into two parts. One is solution for these underprivileged children, which forms the large majority of the students of this country, right from schools up to the higher education. And the second is the privileged children who have got access to all kinds of digital platforms. For this virus is going to stay with us. We have to learn to live with it in whatever manner possible. This is not going to go away easily. How to live with it? We have to live with it with social distancing. We have to keep social distancing in mind and continue with our education and all our daily lives. How to keep social distancing when the number of students is so large in these underprivileged schools and the government schools, etc. We need to space them out. Either we increase the number of classes, thereby reducing the number of students in each class, or have more schools. That is one part of the solution. Also, I had mooted for a 24/7 working for the entire country. The entire country goes into 24/7, 365 days of working. That thereby
Not able to hear you, sir. I think we lost contact with Dr. Sharma. Gorbaji, sir, Your Excellency, can you give your views on the international scenario? How do you look at it? Because you have a different perspective of the complete virtual education as to how it's moving around. Gorbaji, sir? His Excellency Gorbaji, can I request you for your comments, sir?
Yes.
So I was just asking on an international scenario as to how do you feel that this is, as a virtual education, is taking a major role in the education sector, and how the things are being made to reach out to the common people.
Okay, I think first of all we should understand a couple of very important things. That the education is okay. If you look at the ex-USSR or Soviet Union education system, the system is divided in four or five parts. So first is from 3 to 6 years, basically kindergarten. We have from 7 to 10 years, which is a primary school. We have the school from 11 years to 15 years, and then we have the lyceum, and then we have the university. So what I feel personally, from my personal experience, that the online education is quite very quick accessed by those which are starting from 10 years up, because the kids are much more prepared and they are well known to the technologies. While we are talking about the kindergarten, there we need to work more and to get them more prepared for online education. And I still think that they need to go to the kindergarten, they need to go to school for that age, because also we shouldn't forget about the fact that the kids, they have parents. The parents cannot stay with them all day long because the parents normally are going to work. So there is a need of a place to go, and there is a need of a guarantee that that place would give to those kids first of all the safety, which is very important at this period of time. And I'm a very happy father because I have 3 kids, 5 years, 10 years, and 15 years. So that was a very clear understanding for me to know how quick these kids are getting or are reacting to the new way of education, online education. So definitely I have no troubles with the 10 and 15 years kids, because they're okay, they're organized, they took their iPad and they started to get connected to the lessons. But the small kid, I had to tell, okay, we had to take care of him, because he will never get well organized because he's a kid yet. So he knows that someone should take care of him. So there are a couple of things that we need to work on, but we will learn on the way. Another important thing again, it depends from country to country, but another important thing is the teacher. Were they ready for online education? One of the questions.
Yeah.
Were they ready with the content to be transferred in online? I'm not sure that everybody was ready, but what we observed here in Moldova, I would like to say that we observed a goodwill from the teachers, and they get to the trainings, they get to know, they get to learn how to use the computer, and they get to manage to have all these kids together in order to be able to transfer them the knowledge and to transfer the feeling of a group, of being a part of a class, of a group. So I think this is very important, and here we have to work a lot all together to help everyone, to help teachers to understand, to help kids to get involved. Nevertheless, the social presence is also important. When you think about university, for example, being present at the university is not only going there to learn and to teach, to get some knowledge, but it's a sort of being a part of a big group, is sort of sharing the feeling, the emotions, and stuff like that. So those things we shouldn't also neglect. I mean, they should be present in our day-by-day life. So this is a big challenge that is going to happen. So how we can keep this feeling, how we can keep these emotions together with the online in the same time.
Perfectly, sir. I think you brought in the very pertinent points of the teacher readiness, the kids acceptance, and how we are actually going to go about, because teacher readiness is one place where it's a major challenge what we are facing today. It's not easy, and sir.
Another important thing is parents, because when you think about the fact that you grow the kid up to 3 years old and then you give the kid to the kindergarten, so you expect that all the education the kid will get over there. When the kid is at home, then you have the responsibility of those teachers, basically educators in the kindergarten. So that's also something very important. We shouldn't forget about this as well.
That is absolutely the point, sir. It's a very pertinent point what we have brought in, sir. Sir, we have Dr. Krishan Agarwal with us, sir. I think to introduce you, he's the Vice Chancellor. And sir, we were discussing on the point of how the education sector is responding to the COVID-19, and your viewpoints on this, sir. Dr. Agarwal.
See, yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry for being late. The education sector in the post-COVID scenario has seen a great change. Actually, we were talking of disruption in education sector for quite some time, but we believe that this COVID situation has forced the disruption so heavily on the education sector. At the moment, all education, right at the school level or higher education level, is attempted being online. I'm happy in some sense that all the teachers at the school level or higher education level are putting in their best at the moment to ensure that we are able to deliver whatever we can possibly. But at the same time, I was on the Times Now 3 days back, and it was a live program, and the parents and the students are in many cases not very happy about the whole thing. And my take on this is that because this disruption came up so suddenly that we were really never prepared for it in that sense, and therefore whatever is being done under the circumstances is probably the best thing to do. There was a difficulty on how will we conduct the exam. Some solutions have been found, some solutions are still being sought, but this situation of COVID has impressed on the education system that the traditional education system of large number of students in a class, of sort of very crowded schools and colleges will not remain operational most of the time. But I will also like to say that complete online may also not be the solution for the all times to come. At present, yes, this is a solution which has been thrust upon us, and we have to make the best use of it. But ultimately, I believe education will normalize to what I call as a blended learning. Blended learning would mean a part of it could be online, but a part of it will have to be face-to-face, interactive, because when students come to the school or the college, it's not only listening to the teachers, it's talking to their peers also. It is taking part in group activities also. It is taking part in sports also. It is taking part in joint projects also. So all those things are also important to make a complete graduate. And at the same time, if we have to shift to social distancing and all that, I do not expect that the classrooms in our schools and universities and colleges will become 3 times or 4 times overnight, that will be able to do that. And therefore, I foresee that the blended learning will be the only normal after we have settled down. That is what we can do on online lecture part of it, and then we go to flipped classroom part philosophy, where we have smaller groups sitting in classrooms, discussing with the teachers, discussing amongst themselves, and the whole philosophy will have to change. Even our examination system will have to be blended in the sense that we will have to learn to believe some teachers assessing the students without a written exam, without a formal 3-hour exam. That's a mindset with which, out of which we will have to come, because we are so much used to it that unless there is a 3-hour exam, something is seriously missing. We'll have to forget about it. We'll have to empower our teachers. I believe the biggest fallout of this COVID activity ultimately may be that our teachers have to be empowered. All over the world, in all universities, best universities in the world, teachers are empowered. And in our country, we believe too much on cross-examining the teachers. We have the examination system, we have audit of examination system, and so on and so forth. So I believe teachers will have to accept the empowerment, and we will have to give them empowerment, and the students will also have to adjust to this blended mode, that is sitting in the class for some time, more for discussion rather than listening to the lectures. Listening to the lectures part can be shifted online, or even recording sent earlier, things like that. And today, as far as lectures are concerned, I think plenty is available on the online platform. I mean, the best of the lectures in the world are available on this. So that part can be done online, but ultimately, and online platforms also, we are still sort of struggling with them to make them perfect. They are okay, but a lot of it has to be done. So I believe my initial take on this would be that let's prepare ourselves for blended learning, a combination of online teaching and a classroom teaching and a school or college teaching in a very different mode, where other parts of the personality can be taken care of. And this could change from discipline to discipline. In history, blended learning could be 80% online, 20% in the classroom. And engineering, it might be 40-60. So depending upon the discipline, depending upon the subject, we might have to decide all this ratio of the blended learning. Thank you.
Yeah, very pertinent, sir. And what has happened is suddenly, a platform like Coursera, where there's so many people who are being enrolling themselves for the classes, and there's a platform called Ding Talk also. They came up with almost 5,000 courses in just 2 weeks. So that's the kind of yes, sir, yes. But this is a totally unplanned. It's such a kind of a move which has happened overnight with us, and there was no training to the teachers, what His Excellency Gorbachev also brought out, and there is a sufficient bandwidth. The technical issues to really come up in this case. How do we handle this particular? Right, sir. Sir, we have General Sehgal also with us. General Sehgal, sir, I'll request you if you can, give your comments on this, sir. Sehgal, sir. I don't see his audio coming up. But Sehgal, sir, are you audible? Okay, I think meanwhile what we do. So my next point would I would like to bring out here is there's an issue of the challenge. And what does it mean to the future of learning? Because most of you have actually brought in that what would be the future of learning all about. But how do you feel that it's going to change the way we work, the way we taught, and we are going to be doing our education system, what every one of you have brought it out. So I think if you can consolidate your views on this particular thing. Dr. Abraham, I think Dr. Abraham sir, you have the slides, given the slides. I'll share those slides for you for this purpose. And I think you can take on the discussion first.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. If you have a look of the slides, these are the disruptions we have.
Can you see the slides, sir?
Yeah. Yes, sir. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you, sir. Can you see the slides?
Yes, sir. This is basically the educational disruptions. What we are seeing is, as on today, if at all, I'm talking about concentrating on the professional level only. The specialization, it has become a very foggy, and subsequently the knowledge become nobody's. There is no limitations. It extends from one end to the other, depending upon where who has got access to it. That means, and finally, as on today, the acceptance of the students to the teachers is a challenging thing for the present teachers. A teacher has to be 70% learners and 30% these things, and he has a multi-role to play with it. Basically, he has to play as a mentor, guide, and a friend altogether by his side. And finally, if you're coming to this, it's not the question of the degree which takes you in education to the thing. It is basically basically you have to unlearn, relearn, and uplearn. This is the system in which we can go. And the boundary is of any of the higher education becomes totally punctured in terms of it is a seamless studies. If you come to the next slide, we can see it very much in these things. Can I come to exactly that? What is basically the transformation? Some of the examples are that the student can choose any teachers and choose the timing. It is very flexible to him. Earlier, we used to have only one or two choices within your institutes. Now it is totally open to him to learn the particular subjects he can do this. And also, it is not that you can design your own syllabus. That is the future of this one. This and that is, as on today, we got a tunnelized way of getting into any of the engineering or professional design. 4 years of it, you are going through a 4 years tunnel, and it is reaching the other end. However, the present system of education, we should have multi-exits en route, so that the way he can carry on the credits, accumulate the credits. By the total number of credit comes, he should be able to get his own degree of his choice. And that is the way in which we should be able to get the students learn seamlessly over the years. Then basically what here this keeping in the online systems, we have to have an open system of these things, open book system, but where how can have the application, that is actually the real world. What you have studied, how it can be applied is the things after that. Finally, he should be prepared to take the exams online. As on today, like any of the online exams, the choice is his. When he gets prepared, then he has to give, rather than the exam is not time bound. If you come to the last slide, that is the crux of all this, the new future in which these things. Basically, he's talked of National Academic Credit Bank. If at all you get, he can choose any subject combinations. The notion, basically, he can choose that. And finally, merging of regular, distance, online, virtual modes. That is what my predecessor told us. Blended learning is the need of the hour. That then only we can this. However, there is no life. There is a lifelong learning enablers which gives us the total time of yours depending upon the need of the hour. Suppose if you are going to a professional design, he got in between, he got a IT certification level, he gets out,
do a job and gets money, and subsequently to the diploma level, degree level, postgraduate level, so that he can grow step by step. And finally, the study of a national institute of these things, any national institute is, and choosing the teachers is very much is the future outcome looking forward. Subsequently, if you see that all this, as and when we do a course, your credits get accumulated, and if at all that befits it to a degree, then you can have the bachelor's of liberal education, which is the system in which you should be able to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your very wonderful thoughts, sir. And I think this is the way we have to think further as to how do we take things ahead, and the challenging time, testing time, what we have, sir. Sir, I will request Dr. Naveen Madhu to give his view on this particular subject of how is the future ahead in the online education. Dr. Madhu. Dr. Madhu, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Your audio is not very clear.
Can you hear me?
And sir, your audio is not very clear.
Can you hear me?
Okay, sir, I'll come back to you, sir. General Alin Malik, sir, your viewpoints on this, sir.
I am very, can you hear me? I am a little worried. I'm worried about.
Madhu, sir, we'll come back to you in a couple of minutes, sir. 1 second.
Yeah, may I, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir.
Okay, I'm a little worried. I don't know whether while the online education, virtual amenities are good for acquiring knowledge, which I mentioned in my earlier remarks, I'm a little worried that are we at the end of it going to produce machines? Are we going to produce robots? Or are we going to produce good human beings? In my understanding, the education system, what I learned was to how to build good human beings, how to bring about good values. You know, after the Battle of Waterloo, the Duke of Wellington remarked that the Battle of Waterloo was won on the playing fields of Eton. What he implied was that it was the values that were taught in schools, in the good schools, that brought about the best in human beings. And therefore, we produced good human beings. You know, there of late, I've been always wondering that some of the education schools, some of the universities, which were only focusing on domain knowledge, a teacher would come in the morning, open your scalp and pour in a beaker of chemistry. The next person would come, shake your head again and add in some physics into it. A third person comes, adds in chemistry into it. At the end of it, what do we produce? We produce people who may have acquired knowledge of a particular subject, but are they ready to take on the challenges of life? You know, as Mr. Gubrichi brought out, that there are different segments of children. It's okay for me to get a degree, to get a certification, get some kind of a job which will give me that thing, at the end of it, produce good marks in the examination. But am I ready to take on the challenges of life? And therefore, I feel that the present crisis, while it is important for us to adopt the virtual classes, to adopt things, but there's no way that this is what we should be looking at in the future. You know, the response in some of the students of the Ivy League classes, first of all, as you know, most of our universities, both in India and abroad, were a little late start-offs as far as getting into to face up to the crisis. The response of the students was, the students went on a strike because they were being deprived of real-time classes. They raised objection to kind of fees that was being charged. They raised objection that the quality of learning that was there in the universities in the Ivy League universities was not up to the mark. So obviously there is something missing. But yes, we are doing a great job to meet the present crisis, but we need serious thought, like it was brought out by one of the earlier panelists, that the government, the Niti Aayog, the Ministry of Education are looking at how we need to get back into blended education. I, who stopped educating myself on domain thing, recently joined some online courses to get some kind of certification to acquire certain knowledge. But that in no way is what the future should be, and that is what is of concern, and we need to look at it very seriously. Thank you.
Wonderful, sir. I think that's the right way ahead, sir. And I'll request General Sana, sir, to give your views, sir, on the challenging times. Sana, sir.
General speaker അങ്ങോട്ട് working ഇല്ല.
Pardon, sir?
Bluetooth എടുത്താ?
General Sana, sir, can you hear us? Okay, Mr. Shashikanji, can you give your views on this particular topic?
Yeah, look, when we talk of online education or the classroom education, whatever it is, we have to keep in mind that we are basically dealing with humans, different age groups here. And what are the key factors when we talk about humans? Is their behavioral pattern, number one, behaviorism. Then it is cognitism, that the process of learning that they acquire, how they go about it, how they develop it, and how it further blossoms into a wonderful thing. But more important, here comes up the social construction. When interaction is most important, whether it's group discussion or like this webinar, if there is no social interaction, then I think that then the very aim of knowledge is defeated. And yeah, one of the panelists talked about blending education. Yeah, that was the perfect thing. But now when I look at the question that you have posed, the future of online learning or virtual learning, but there are separate aspects to it. The first thing is that serious rethinking will have to be done about the role of educator. The educator himself has to be educated about the new modes, new ways, new behavioral patterns, new things that are coming up. There has to be a proper training even for the educators. Like we say in our services, we have in service courses, because education is a continuous process, whether it's the educator or the guy who is learning is very important. That's an ongoing process. And then comes, yes, technology, which is going to come in a big way. And the generation that we are dealing with, the Generation Z, which is basically roughly we can say is of 25 years age group as on date, which believes in globalization, global education. So there, of course, like we are talking about this online learning or virtual learning, that's gonna be of great help, and that's got a very, very bright future. But again, the most important thing remains the first topic which I mentioned about the role of the teacher. And now what we have to talk about the life skills, not only normal education. Life skill means how youth has to be educated. He has to get life skills, how he has to sort of talk, how he has to present, because the age of globalization. And what the employers are going to look at it is the communication skills, collaboration, empathy, emotional intelligence, and all these things on demographic lines. So these things are very important. I think that the future of the online education is really good, no doubt about it. But again, as one of the panelists has said, that blended education you can't really do away with. That's gonna be the most important part thereof.
Okay, wonderful, sir. That's really nice views which you have given, sir. And I'll request General Asthana now, sir, if you're there online to give your views.
Yeah, I am there online.
Sir,
yeah, I am
please,
there
sir.
online. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir. If you can switch on your camera, sir, that will be pretty good, sir.
Yeah, camera is on, but there's something wrong somewhere. Just a minute. Am I on now? No.
Sir.
share my webcam. It is showing that all webcam spaces are currently being used. Please try again when the space is available.
Sir, let me switch it on now, sir. Now I think it will work out, sir. I'll just switch off one. I think Dr. Swati. Now I think just 1 second. Just see this. It will work.
You will have to get me on the screen. Otherwise, I can speak. Everybody can hear you.
Now I think I should be able to get you on the screen. Just 1 second, sir.
Yeah, I think. Am I okay?
No, it's there, sir. Yeah, it worked.
Firstly, let me talk about this problem of how education sector is responding to COVID-19 at various levels. Let's first talk of the global level. Now, this pandemic is a surprise for everyone, and therefore, I think everybody is on the same plane as far as preparation for getting into online education or virtual education is concerned. But at the same time, the world bodies have responded. UNESCO has responded by coming out with COVID-19 hub. Now, if you open the hub, you get a lot of models there. There is a distance learning management system there. There are online courses. There are various videos. There are programs on mobile phones. And in addition to that, they have roped in certain global media like BBC, like other organizations, a number of other organizations they have roped in. And they are also trying to reach out to various regional action groups. Now, when we come to the regional action groups, they are also now looking at which is resource providing, providing training to the educators, as well as providing the ready-made material for various courses. So all this is being tackled in that manner. Now, as I mentioned, that the challenges differ for different kind of categories. Now, you have first category, that is people who have got access to computers. Now, all such students who have access to computers, for them online courses are running reasonably well, and therefore they have an access to quality education. Although online courses cannot supplement, cannot replace the personal interaction and the kind of the human qualities which are supposed to be brought out by the personal interaction, that cannot be replaced. But certainly, as far as the basic education part is concerned and the content part is concerned, that is being imparted. Then we come to the mobile availability. Now, a bigger section has got the availability of mobile. And there are various education apps which are available, and those apps are also being used to a great extent. Then we have the next segment, have smartphones as well. The next segment, the best option is the televisions. Now, in televisions, there is a need for various countries, which includes our country, and our country is also responding to it accordingly, that you have to have certain programs, maybe from the national TV or maybe from the other televisions, dedicated for education. You can give slots, you can give timings, and therefore the televisions are applicable to much bigger segment of the society. So therefore, a bigger section gets covered. Then we have students access to any of these things. Now, in that case, the community availability will have to be explored, like televisions in Gram Sabhas. Certain times can be given for the education. Televisions can be made use of, and as well as for the telecast of various education platforms and the programs. Now there are various programs, whether it is platform, short videos, online courses, mobile learning apps, and when it came to education, you would have seen how to deal with COVID was covered amply by all TV channels. And I think everybody in the bargain did get educated. So therefore, this was a portion of educating the citizen. Then comes teachers also now had to raise their skills, and the skills were raised. I can make out even my class 2. She is having classes on Zoom. So, but then that is a privileged segment because they have the access or more. But then for the others as well, of models will have to be worked out, as I mentioned a little earlier. Then we come to certain problems which came all of a sudden, like problem of class 10 and 12 in India. And these are the probably that obviously their exams got postponed because it happened all of a sudden. So now I think some models have been worked out that okay, in July they are going to have the rest of the exams, and where the exams had not started for class 10, they will start off with the internal assessment, and that should take them to the next class so that they don't suffer. Globally, an awareness has been created, which is going to take care of their seeking admission into the global universities, and that that will get delayed by 3 months. Similarly, all universities are, I think, being told by the government of India, and I think appropriately by the other governments also, that you please for the next year, you tweak your syllabus for 9 months so that the students don't have that much of load. And the load can very well be shared within 9 months and postpone everything to ensure that within 9 months you are able to create that. Then comes another role of corporate responsibility. Now there are a lot of corporates which are saying we want to help people, but there are restricted medias. I mean, only one media that okay, give money to Prime Minister's Relief Fund, and there is a possibility for people to give computers, televisions, smartphones to children and to schools to be distributed to the students who do not have these facilities. Now corporates can play a major role in that, and I think if that awareness comes, I think that would be much better. Similarly, when we are talking of unlocking technology, I think it came as a compulsion, and it will soon become a habit as we go forward. Then we are today the largest user in the world. We have about you see the magnitude of challenge as India faces. Almost 15 lakh schools, 50,000 higher education institutions. We have about 28.5 million young children affected, and therefore the magnitude of the problem as well as the magnitude of opportunities also exist. And therefore, when I talk of opportunities, I will always talk about the positives. The opportunities land you to a situation wherein a fair amount of market of education system and education technology, these market opportunities are available in India, and our actualists must take this challenge: how to push education forward, how to push education market forward, how to push education appliances forward, how to manufacture more appliances, how to make their availability, and how to bring it to a bring the cost to a level that it is affordable by maximum segment of the society. So that is another challenge which we need to have. Then we come to the indigenous manufacturing of certain technologies like video conferencing. As I mentioned, if we are the largest users of Zoom, there is no reason why we shouldn't be largest manufacturer of video conferencing tools. So that is another area where I think. Then when we are looking at, we also need to look at the change in outlook. The outlook and the methodology will have to change together. People will have to look at this platform to perhaps make efforts to learn if they haven't learned so far. And I always keep telling all the children in every forum which I speak that our generation is seeing it at a much later stage, when we are not prone to that much of learning. But your generation, that is the younger generation who are getting educated, is seeing it right at the beginning. And once this pandemic is over, they will come out much stronger than what they were and what we were in during our lifetime. And therefore, that is a major positive. Second positive, which I pick up from the Excellency's speech, is that now parents will have to play the role of educationist, because a class 2 child or a class 3 child, he or she will have to be helped by the parents, and certain traits which the teachers were supposed to give it to the children, that traits will have to be given to by the parents, and parents have more time available because they are sitting at home, and after their office hours they have adequate time to devote it to the children, and perhaps they are in a position to give that kind of personal care which they were expecting the teachers to give it in their schools. So these are some of the ideas which I thought I'll share with you before I give the.
It's a really wonderful. You put in a whole gamut of points which are very important for all of us to take home. And you know, the point which you have brought in one point is the video conferencing and about the digital divide, the TV as a media for the education, for especially the rural part of the country where you know they don't have these kind of features of online platforms and the conferencing platforms which are there, right? So I think it's really pertinent all that way. And I'll request sir, Dr. Agarwal to give your viewpoints on this, sir. Dr. KK Agarwal, are you there? If you can unmute yourself. Okay. In the meanwhile, sir, I'll go to Dr. R.D. Sharma for his views on this particular. Dr. R.D.
Yeah, thank you. See, after going through all the ideas and views, and I've been attending and being part of many webinars on higher education and other aspects of the same thing, one thing that has emerged clearly is there is no replacement of classroom education. Everybody is in agreement to that aspect of education. Online education can be supplement to the classroom education. Now the challenge in India, the biggest challenge in India is the large number of students and fewer number of schools. When we go to the government schools, even the private schools, the classes are huge, 40, 45 students in 20 to 25 feet classroom, which is unacceptable because we need to have social distancing to be part of our life. Now, what is the way forward? The way forward, I would submit my, ideas of the way forward. One is we need to have more schools in the same school. When I say this, I mean if you have one school running from morning to evening, we divide it into two parts. Half the school runs in the morning, half the school runs in the afternoon, shorter school timings, and the outdoor activities of the school which is not running takes place during the time when the other part of the school is running, so that the social distancing is taken care of and all the children are able to get to the classrooms. Now, that will also entail that one of the points made by one of the panelists, optimizing the syllabus. I also feel, and a lot of educationists in India feel, our education or our syllabuses that taught in the classrooms is too huge, and a lot of it can be reduced and strengthened, and the quality education may be brought in into that. And the challenges of taking the technology to the rural areas and to the poor children is definitely a very long shot. It will take a long time, and we do not have the time. We are losing time every minute, every day. So that is my submission to the panelists, and I feel that could be a way forward to getting the classroom education back on time. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. I'll request His Excellency Gorbuchi, sir, to give your views on this, sir.
Thank you again. I would like to mention a couple of very important things which were mentioned by some of the panelists. One is to get the system ready. We have to get the children ready. So the children have to have the knowledge of and the techniques how to use and how to get involved in the online education. There is also one important thing about the okay, this is depending from country to country, but maybe the situation that some of the countries infrastructure is not ready yet for the online, because online means a lot of content, a lot of data which is transferred from another point to another point. So by this, I would like to say that it's becoming a priority for countries to have the infrastructure in place in order to be able to have this data transfer from one point to another point. But also coming back to what I mentioned before, to have the parents ready and to have the teachers ready for it. We are moving actually from content delivery to the quality and to the delivery of the abilities to the kids. So that's something that I think is to be a must. Kids have to have the abilities to be connected, to get connected, to learn in online, and I think that's what we are observing during our 2 months of quarantine, that kids are very quick adapting to this new era of education. Basically, that's what I wanted to mention upon those topics. So the future is here, a lot of challenges, a lot of things that we have to learn from these 2-3 months of quarantine. And I think I see myself and people around me, we see a lot of opportunities.
That's I think it's really wonderful, and it's very important phase of life where we are looking into the education part of it. Sir, Dr. Agarwal, if you're there online, sir, if you can hear me, I think you can give your viewpoints on it, sir. Dr. Swati, your views on the same subject?
Thank you so much, sir. Can you able to hear me, sir?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. So as most of the panelists agreed that we need actually the the existence of classroom, because there is no replacement of classroom. We really miss the human touch, and students who are very young at the age of their nursery going, or kid whose parents are both working, so they need the human touch of their very own ma'am or very own sir, because they really miss them and they somehow need them for their value based education, because we know that general education wouldn't provide the ethics and value based education, because the human only can teach the values of education system and the culture, which is actually bring up from the home, from the school, with the interaction within the peer group and from the teacher. So I think we can't replace with this online or virtual sessions, because virtual sessions wouldn't give that affection, that eye to eye contact, because sometime we switch off the videos, or our voice is not being proper or adequately. So that human need, and sometimes scolding is a good thing, because when a teacher at the age of the very young age actually try to make us appropriate citizen for our own country, this spare the rod, so that sometime is needed. So sometimes scolding and with a very own example of livelihood would actually makes us citizen for our own country. So that is very, very important. That's my view, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I think what I want to bring out that everybody has brought in so much of pertinent points on this particular effectiveness, but my query would always be that, is the online really very effective, right? Because at an average, students retain 25 to 60% more material when learning online as compared to 8 to 10% in classroom. This is the study which says. So while we are having the online classes, there are challenges which are there. So is it really a very effective method of going ahead today? Because definitely there's no choice which is being left with us. Okay, but the traditional is always going to be one area which will never be devoid of, because that's where, like, most of you and sirs have brought in that, we should have 80-20 proposition, 40-60 proposition. Dr. Agarwal had brought in, very pertinent. So no, that's where we have to bring in that, is it really very effective? So I like your views on this particular aspect of it, sir. So I'll begin with General Malik first, and then we will do a quick round of this particular question, sir.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. My viewpoint is, this is a very nascent stage. There are a lot of hiccups, and as General Astana brought out, the changes that are taking place in the technology, the reach that is to take place. But first is the content. I would say that since this was a crisis situation, we were not very much prepared with the kind of content which needed to give a comprehensive understanding of the subjects or a comprehensive understanding of the syllabus. While there were some courses, there are some online platforms which have been existing for ages, where the content has been made in a manner that it is only meant for online teaching, and therefore, to a large extent, they were able to immediately fill in the slot that was getting big. But then there was a normal schools, normal colleges, where content was designed for one-to-one learning, or designed for contact learning. Now, that was one aspect which needed to be looked into. And so, therefore, while we have started off well, there are going to be changes, there are going to be stages. In India, organizations like CBSE, NCART, and the ministry have been intimately involved. We have some renowned vice chancellors here on the panel, like Brigadier Abraham brought out. The structure is improving. The structures, some of them have already conquered the speed, but while it's a long road ahead for everyone to get onto this field and to be able to think. I gave you an example a little while back of the Ivy schools, where there was a lot of resistance by the students that the online content that is now been introduced recently is not meeting the requirement of the subject, because the pre-prepared presentations that are being given are not structured adequately. So while this is, we are on the right path, but we still have a long road ahead. And I'm sure as we keep moving on, the effectiveness of the content, the effectiveness of the education being carried out virtually is definitely going to be make a change. There is a need for not only the government to take concrete measures. There are also requirement of the corporate world, not in terms of providing the infrastructure, but also in terms of the acceptability of hiring, acceptability of requirements for the job. Are they going to change their standards? Are they going to accept that your education is only online and therefore you're fit enough to be absorbed in our corporate world? These are things which need to be done.
Yes, sir. A lot of takeaways, sir. Sir, Dr. Abraham, sir, I'll request your viewpoints on this, sir.
Exactly this. Before we take on to this particular things of access related to the sect of students, let me take into the Indian scenario. You know that India, as on today, is the richest
in the world over of youth from 16 to 25 years, in which our populations has got 35, around 35%, amounting to around 600 millions of youth is with us, of which it is effort is required basically to enhance our GER from 25% to at least the national universal average. So my sect regarding the effectiveness of the present online learning, it is basically this: one should be able to understand the sect in which self-motivated persons can only go the things. It should be within you. You know that we can't force anyone. If at all a student has to choose, he can choose a wide opportunity of media. What Astana sir was mentioning, n number of persons coming with different type of platform. Yes, what is the most shown today, rather than any of the classrooms, the things flourished was Zoom. Exactly this. Yes, everybody takes a pinch of salt out of you. That is secondary things. But shown today as an educational institution, Zoom is supposed to be the most viable solution in the short span of life till the time we within India we get indigenized. Coming back to the student portion of it, he can choose a media. What is the researcher in which he can do things? Every research guide is open to him. Every entrepreneur opportunity. Even in these things, sir, you have mentioned about n number of courses of which Coursera or NPTEL or anything which was coming. It's a duplicacy is there. And even General Malik was mentioning, sir, we are undergoing a particular online course at this age. It's basically not for certification or employment. It's basically for your own upgradation of it. Unless until you don't study till the last day, you'll remain at the day you stop your learning. You are to be assumed that you are a party to symmetry. So indirectly, I was just taken a little lighter sense. One of the everybody has got problem in life. One saint asked the crowd, how many of you have got problem? Everybody raised. Do you want to solve it? Everybody raised. I found a place where there is no problem at all. Would you like to go? Everybody again raised. Yes. It's symmetry. The problem in your life is a sign of your life. That is basically the thing. We have to live and take that problem, turn to an opportunity. Subsequently, if at all any students wants to get into this, he gets an education and coming to a teacher. A teacher is the person who create the nation, and he has to. As on today, everybody, even Swati was mentioning, sparing the road will make effective teaching. Yes, that fear of our olden days. If at all you do a beat or shout at this thing, you will be behind the bars. So that's sorry, I'm thankful for you, but it is not the case as on today. Scenario changes, system changes. You know that when I took over, I had been vice chancellor for 2 universities. I went in with a brigadier's discipline name, bad name,
but I was not strict, but I was firm. It yielded diplomatically result. And finally, if at all you confess, so online education is basically a creative world, a platform available to you. Whether I just quote a realistic, great philosophers, Confucius. I hear, I forget. I see, I remember. I do, and I understand. It is mandatory for you to understand the subject. So whether it is open book exam or is immaterial, you should be able to understand the application of your subject rather than with general. Malik sir was mentioning that the ASON today, the need was different from everywhere, because you and me have generations behind. And means, if at all a generation means 10 to 15 years, the new generations, unless until wherever I was, including Vice Chancellor, I made it a point to take at least one subject for the courses. Basically, it is not that I am knowledgeable, I learn with them and present the classes. Basically, it feel the sense of the new generations. That also, normally I take the second year, so that first year subjects is not a professional subject. Second year subject I take on to feed the new generation, and subsequently I think back, come back and work a homework to see, address the situations. Finally, I see that online education gives adequate space for value addition. Don't think of those persons. So there is nothing called people who are interested can have a smartphone as on today. It's not that they are not capable enough of it. If at all you see that amount of WhatsApp which is happening, if at all you want to have achieve something, there is no doubt. Yes, people can do that. Yes, we can. Hum honge kamyab. The things came from our Vedic sciences. And finally, the thing, it is not that. Every teacher has to develop his soft skill. Then only he can project himself. Having gathered knowledge, having gathered the degree, doesn't serve the ASON today scenario. It has to be projected, whether physically or not today, is the mandatory thing ASON today for the world to come. Everybody says that blending system, it may have written infrastructure requirement, the competitors. ASON today, if at all you see the industry 4.0, any of the system which is Uber doesn't own a car and the industry is functional. Similarly, our education system 4.0 has, which I have mentioned earlier, I may not be owning in an infrastructure for the university, but still I can be a vice chancellor for that type of university. Should be the day ahead with us. Again, another thing which I finally want to mention is not only your soft skill, it's your life skill. Life skills, basically what you mean by is the problem solving capability within you. How do you get generated? It can only come if at all you spend not much time, not only on learning or yoga or exercises. It comes by maturing your knowledge to a wisdom. That particular system can only come through your meditation. The source has to come within you. Through that only then. So virtually the self-awareness, self-capability, we should be able to take you this. So invariably, it will take you at a seamless studies throughout the year till you take rest in a symmetry. Thank you.
Wonderful, sir. The life skill also is so important. Without that, you're not you're going to reach anywhere. Sir, I'll request Dr. Agarwal, sir, to give your viewpoint, sir.
Yeah, as I reiterated earlier, we take extreme views. I think 6 months before, distance education was seen in the country as if it is something very undesirable. Brigadier Abraham would agree with me. Very professional institutions like IETE were not recognized because distance education is not the cup of tea which the country would accept. Now we are going to another extreme where people are starting saying as if distance education is panacea for everything. I again repeat that we will have to move in between to strike a balance between the two, take better of both worlds rather than end up with worse of both worlds. Two more points which I like to point out as a result of this education which has been provided to us by COVID situation. One is our system must be making sure that our fundamentals are strong, because disruptions will come unforeseen, obviously. That is the definition of disruption, and the nature of disruption is never known, scale of disruption is never known. Today it is COVID-19, tomorrow will be XYZ 20, whatever. So our students, our researchers, our students, our system must be very good in fundamentals so that we can handle any disruption, because disruptions will not tell us beforehand. Another thing which I like to say is we are becoming super and super specialized with the passage of time. I remember we had degree in BTech electrical engineering, then electronics engineering, then computer science, then IT. Now people say, why not give degree in BTech AI, artificial intelligence, degree in BTech Internet of Things? I think that's going too far. We'll have to make sure that the graduates of today are able to appreciate the problem in general. Actually, some of our problems are because we do not appreciate the issues. For example, even COVID-19, if it is handled purely as a medical problem, we fail. We will have to handle it as a medical problem, as an economic problem, as a security problem, as a social problem, unless we learn and our graduates learn to see all dimensions of the problem. We really do not find viable and workable solutions. I think this is an opportunity where we should imbibe more and more of interdisciplinary education, combine knowledge and skills much and more, combine distance education and formal education more and more. So in summary, I say this COVID situation has taught us, let us not look for one alternative at a time and be obsessed with it. Let us learn to live with a combination of options available to us and make the best use of that combination. Thank you.
Let me take a minute of yours. Thank you, sir. It is interesting. But I am a governing council member of Institute of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering.
I know.
But IET is not a distant education. Yes, I accept that. It has been de-recognized by vested interest. That is, you and me know it. I don't want to use this platform. Why this type of IET's degree, which has proven over 70 years, has been de-recognized overnight. I don't want to get into this platform for it. Yes, but it is not a distant education. It is an engineering education through 63 centers of the nation and 3 centers in the international level. Thank you, sir.
Brigadier Abraham, I think you would probably recall I was president of that institution, and I know all these things. But the point which I am trying to raise is, let us not take extreme views, because this institution, IET, Institution of Engineers, and many other institutions were serving the country well, and we unnecessarily deprived the students. That's what I'm trying to say.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Sir, His Excellency Gorbachi, sir, your views on how challenging is it, sir?
Thank you. I prepared a short. I mean, I like the speech of Mr. Abraham talking about the fact that some of the kids were not ready to face this online education in terms of having not access to the devices. And I think it's so important that different companies can take the social responsibility, corporate social responsibility acts and helping those kids. I think those kind of things should be promoted. It was also mentioned about the formal education, so I would like to tell a couple of things about this. So, you know, there is formal education, which is a standard, which is something official, an official system that it's a must for every single kid in every single country. It's something mandatory. There is a non-formal education, which is basically their hobbies, the children, what they would like to do, that they have some interest in some of the areas, the sport activities, which is something complementary. And there is informal education, which children are taking on the way. So this on the way or accidentally education was mostly present by in online. And we have to admit that the kids outside of the school, they were in their computers, in their smartphones, so they were getting in these activities, they were getting some additional information, some additional education that is called informal education. So when the pandemic came into place, so when COVID-19 appeared, the informal education went up because most of the kids are using their computers, their smartphones, their laptops, and I think it's an opportunity for all of us to use the informal education to give the formal education and to adjust it and to help the kids to have the access to the formal education. There are a couple of very important things which I think the challenges that we have in front of us within this transformation. One is to get or to prepare the kids, to prepare the children to the online education, to prepare the parents. I was mentioning before, and it is quite of important part of this process, and of course to prepare, in some cases, to prepare the teachers. To adjust the curriculum in place, because the curriculum is more prepared for the face-to-face, for the human touch sort of learning, and to have it prepared. To prepare the country infrastructure. And here I was mentioning before about the data transfer. I think most of the countries are in big need of proper fiber optic network. So I think that's another challenges for the governments. And to find the solutions in keeping those human touch, how should I call them, social contact, social interactions of the kids. So we have to find a solution to keep these things together with the online education, and not forgetting about what was mentioned by Dr. Abraham, not forgetting about life skills, which are very important to stay with us within this online education. And I think this is a responsibility for everybody. We shouldn't think that this is the responsibility only for the Ministry of Education, or only for the teachers, only for the schools. I think this is the responsibility for all humanity at this moment, because we have to adjust, we have to help, we have to find those kids which are in need, and the companies have to get involved and have to help those kids to get the access to those devices. The opportunities are, I think, which are in front of us will pop up on the way more and more. I think the world or the education is now open or becoming open for everyone, and every single kid or every single student will have access to any university all around the world. I think that's the opportunity I see. Of course, with a lot of challenges which I just mentioned before.
Yes, sir. So it's really very pertinent, sir, than the fiber optic cable and the network connectivity to reach to the last student in any of the remote areas of any country is most important. And while we say so many 1.2 billion student out of classrooms, and if you look in from India, Africa, or any country where there's a total divide. So my quick question to you all panelists is, then we'll take the question answers from the attendees, because there are a lot of questions and very interesting questions which are there. So I'll request, how is the coronavirus exposing education's digital divide? So I think a quick reply to this before we jump on to the questions from the audience. So I think one by one, sir, we can start from General Anil Malik, sir, so we can reply on this particular question, sir.
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Sir, I just tell you what I'm trying to say, sir. What His Excellency just brought out that there's going to be a digital divide, and that's what we are trying to ask. And General Asthana also brought up this very point of the digital divide between the rural and the urban population, and also the reaching of this online education to the rural students who lack the connection or hardware to learn remotely. And this is the reality, sir, which everybody is facing because of the outbreak of this coronavirus. And just your viewpoints on how this coronavirus practically is exposing the education's digital divide, because we have been talking of the digital divide always from a social perspective in all the countries. Like, and how do you? What's your view on the education digital divide in this part of the world, sir?
Well, I thank you for the question. There is absolutely no ambiguity that the reach of the online education to the rural areas is still, as on today, decades away, right? Whilst there are some areas where we've reached out, we have today things like smart classrooms. I'm sitting here today and I'm able to interact with you. I'm able to do some reading. I'm able to attend course programs. But that's not so. General Asthana brought out some time back that in the rural areas we need to have the infrastructure for this. While the thought process is all very positive, but are we prepared for that? Do we have the wherewithal? We talked about fiber optic. I know that even in a city like Delhi, there are areas where the internet connectivity is so poor that it becomes difficult to even for a normal person to interact or to remain on the internet. But like General Asthana mentioned, we have these community centers in villages. We have what we call the panchayats, where this kind of a infrastructure can be set up. It can start off with, say, one in each cluster in a particular village, where everybody does not have to be educated together. We have some of these things in motion, where we started off with the adult education programs. So in India, some headway has been made. But yes, until the infrastructure improves, until we reach out, I'm afraid this divide is going to take time. The importance, I know some people from the villages who say, "बहुत अच्छा हुआ जी, अभी पढ़ाई करना बंद हो गया." That motivation, the understanding, the need for this education has still got to reach out to the rural areas. The person in the rural area feels good, my child doesn't have to go to school anymore because he can help me cut the crops. Right? So then, first of all, both things have to work simultaneously. We have to create the infrastructure. We have to make sure that the availability of all these things is there to the rural area. Yet also the need to motivate the people to continue with this education and not look at as a one-off opportunity which has come to stop the education.
Perfect. Sir, I'll come to Dr. Agarwal, sir. Your points on this, sir.
Well, I think digital divide, yes, but then digital technology is so nice in the sense that it will have digital bridges also made, and we will make sure that gradually the things are leveled out. I remember information technology is one of the greatest levelers. Today, the richest person uses the phone and smartphone, and probably reasonably below poverty line people also use the smartphone reasonably well. So these bridges will be built up. Only thing is we will have to prepare ourselves for this. We'll have to prepare social infrastructure for this. We'll have to prepare this. His Excellency raised the very nice point of optical fiber connectivity. Just I think yesterday Vice Chancellor spoke to me. He says he has 30% students in those areas where he cannot even reach to them. Now we will have, once we are trying to go to online to that extent, we'll have to make sure that we are able to reach everybody. The last mile connectivity, last person connectivity, last house connectivity will have to be ensured. And it's not simple connectivity. We'll have to ensure reasonable bandwidth at the source so that things are properly done. Even sitting in Delhi, a few of us have at times do not have that pleasant connection which we should have had. So under the circumstances, I think we have to attend to the technology very fast, make sure of the access to everybody, then only we can think of digital bridges. But yes, this mode of education will have to stay on as a secondary mode at least, because we cannot, a school which used to accommodate 2,000 students cannot accommodate 2,000 students from next month. And General raised here that we'll have to have schools in several shifts. We will have to schools on several days. Maybe some schools work on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, some work on Thursday, Friday, and rest of it is online. I think very innovative models in education will have to come in to give us the optimum results, and we'll all have to put our heads together to work on this.
Right, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And yes, sir.
Thank you. I'll be leaving.
I think, sir, you want, I hope I didn't interrupt you.
Yeah, I said I'll be leaving there now.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Dr. Swati, your viewpoints.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time, sir.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. I hope you'll have to stay for some, because we got a couple of questions, a lot of them which are there. There are almost 29 questions from the attendees. A lot of
Before that, Indrajit sir, yes, sir, can I take a minute?
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Sir, any digital divide is a subject of yesteryears. As on today, if at all you see the number of WhatsApp availability to the students of your system, I'm talking about sect of professional colleges, and if at all you see that it's everybody, almost 90% do have an access of WhatsApp. If at all you can have a WhatsApp, you can be communicated your study material to them. And also, if at all there is a will, there 100% there is a way. If at all you force a thing through the education system, they will rise to the occasions. Small example of yesterday, I do have a ERP system in my university. I was linked earlier to people to schedule it. 40% only were scheduling, others were telling that they don't have a connectivity. I changed it still one step ahead. I said, yes, Your tomorrow onwards, your logging onto the ERP is linked with your present attendance of the college, of the university. And this thing changed. 100% are using the ERP system for the attendance, at least for scheduling. So if at all your firm and systematically approach a citizen, 100% you will be able to communicate to the last person of your university. That's my practical experience. Thank you, sir.
Sir, that's very nice. There's a way, there's a way to get the things implemented. Dr. Swati, I request you for a quick round of your reply before we jump onto the questions from the audience.
Thank you so much, sir. Most of the panelists, they have wonderful comments and reviews, because I'm very younger than you, and I came to know so many facts that how we can actually implement in our upcoming policies that government will definitely already started taking the decisions, that how the draft of our education policy could be modified. Because previously we usually said that online things, and as one of our panelists already discussed, that online education and distance education wasn't that much important with the regular courses in university and colleges. But now the scenario has been changed. I don't know whether it's a curse, or it's a boom actually to the education system for upcoming generation. Because when I was young, people used to say me that keep distance from any gadgets, and mostly the computers things. While I was using my father's computer, that's it's not a good thing. And now we are actually pushing our generation to the computer, to the smartphone. So I think it's a contradictory to some extent.
You're right. Yeah,
Yes.
that's right.
So I think it's creating a tremendous psychological pressure for them also, that what should they do? What is a good thing and what is a bad thing for them with the perspective with the education system? They don't know, because they're very young. So I think it's a major task for the parents, as a parents of 2 years old boy, and he's actually jumping on my phone and laptop while I'm doing any kind of work, and I don't have any option rather to just sit with him and try to come and quiet. And I can imagine the 10-15 years old
That's right, ma'am.
boy and girl.
That's right. Yeah, perfect.
So,
Perfect.
yes, thank you.
I'll request, thank you, ma'am. I'll request Dr. Sharma to give his quick point before we get on to the questions, please. Yeah. I think he's mute. I'll request Sana sir for your valuable comments, sir.
Yeah, I'll be precise to your last question as well as the question to the previous, because I think I did not get the opportunity at that point of time.
Sorry, sir, if I missed it out. I missed it out in that case. So I think you should both the questions.
Yeah, I'll just cover both the questions together. Firstly, was your effectiveness of the e-learning and the online learning. A mix of both will have to go. As far as the advantages of e-learning is concerned, it is quick, it can transfer more data, it is cost effective, it is lesser time consuming, it avoids traveling, it is a greener option, and it can be much more frequently used. And these are some of the advantages. Disadvantages is accessibility and digital divide, which I think we discussed at length, so I won't elaborate on that. But notwithstanding that, a mixed model will have to be adopted. This model is a compulsion. And let's also analyze this issue, that certain times the situations demand us or challenge us to come out with solutions which we never thought we will be doing it. And that is how you would realize that when demonetization took place, everybody who never thought of doing digital payments, even a chaiwala started doing payment by Paytm.
That's right.
Same is the case today, that when it comes to education, As Brigadier Ibrahim was mentioning, today, if you can download Arogya Setu, you can also download the education applications on your mobile. And everybody is on mobile by and large. And this mobile connectivity is penetration is so much that today, when your Google shows you the traffic congestion, it is purely on mobile. It is mobile density which gives the traffic congestion. So therefore, almost everybody is there. So we need to work out on that. Now, as far as the digital divide is concerned and bridging the digital divide is concerned, as I mentioned in various categories, various platforms which we have to do, e-learning guidelines are being formulated by the government, and I'm sure those e-learning guidelines are going to give out much more data, as well as and much more guidelines and best use of the community centers. I think they are looking at the grid of community centers to reach out to everybody, and that is the only way with which we will be able to link up with everyone, perhaps. The corporate sector, as I mentioned, can do wonders for us, and therefore, in every platform, I keep requesting the corporate sector to step in to increase the availability of resources for bridging the digital divide. These are some of the points which I wanted to mention. Education institutes by themselves are also innovating, and they, at their own end, have done a lot of innovations. The only requirement now is to synergize all those and to share the best practices, which can be done at the government level, whether it is at the state government level or at the national government level. So this synergization as well as sharing of best practices will have to be perhaps taken on.
Very pertinent. I think very valid points which you have brought out, sir. And sorry, I missed out in the last round of questions.
It doesn't matter. No problem.
Yes, sir. I'll request His Excellency Gaurbashi to sir to bring out your points on the digital divide, sir.
Talking about the devices in general, I think the technology moved very fast forward. I used to work for a GSM company, and we were trying some of the markets to sell very advanced devices, and we were having some debates inside of the company that is the market ready, is not the market ready, or how we should do that. What we managed to observe that people, especially the young generation, is very keen into taking the new device, new technologies, and they are applying it in, and they are integrating it in their basically day-by-day life. So that shows that the technologies are taken by people very easy, and this will really help the online education to get to take the place. What I mentioned before is not to forget about everything that is related to the social interaction, everything that is related to the life skills that have to be given to the kids, to the children, in order to have a psychological development in the right place.
Right. Perfect. Yes, sir. That's really very important, sir. I think, and you have the hands-on experience of reaching out to the country as a whole when you were handling the GSM. I think that would have been a real good experience as to getting into the rural part of your country or other countries as well. And reaching out to the last person for bringing them on board the technology. So, and Dr. Adi Sharma, I think your remarks on this particular question before we take on the questions from the audience, please.
Yes. See, there cannot be one stick dealing with all. There is a higher education, there is a school education, secondary and primary. and there is a skill education. So everything has to be dealt with in the manner, in a different manner. In higher education, as Brigadier Abraham brought out, that everybody has got a mobile. But in school and primary schools and schools in villages and schools in underprivileged areas, there are no mobiles. They don't use, it's difficult for them to meet their daily needs. So obviously, mobiles and digital platforms are decades away, as General Anil said. And yes, so we need different solutions for different sets of people, different sets of students. That is the way forward. We need to formulate, sit together, and make a complete draft policies at different levels for different sections of the students that we cater for, put forward to the government, and then let us see where it goes. Thank you.
That's what, yeah, wonderful. So now I will thank you very much all the panelists, sir, for bringing out all the very pertinent points. There are a lot of questions which are there from the attendees who are there. I'll just read out the questions and we'll try and answer those. First question, it says that it's from Umeshwar Singh, and he says that how welcome the transformation from traditional education to virtual education system? Are the resources available to reach to rural area? And what about research in the university? So any one of you can answer this question, sir. I'll leave it to the panel because it's a very open question to all.
Exactly, sir. We are rich in the system of education from our Gurukula system onwards. We have stepped ahead to Indian education 3.0, finally to 4.0. I clearly, yes, there is a limitation of system of communication to the some of the rural areas. However, major of the rural areas are linked with connectivity of at least 3G. So it is not a difficult situation as on today in the Indian scenario to communicate on online whatever the things. Else, one of the media which we are missed is radio communication. That is the thing which is 100% available. As on today, my university is also on the camped radio system, of which 1 hour, whatever the questions projected by the students are being transmitted as a solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir, please,
I would
sir,
like
please.
to add a couple of things over here. I think it depends on the country. We cannot say the country is ready or the country is not ready. There are countries which are having the 3G and 4G in place. There are countries with the very advanced fiber optic networks in place. I think what I mentioned before as well, I think it's very important for each and every country to study, to make an analysis of their own infrastructure and to decide upon next plans of investments. In the same time, I think we passed through a very competitive period of time for the GSM operators in different countries, where they invested a lot in networks, in 4G, LTE, for example. At this moment in Moldova, we have a quite good coverage of 3G, 4G in the rural area as well. So, but together with the time when the content data transfer will go up and up, I think the operators and the countries should get well prepared and better prepared.
Right, sir.
One more point. Can I add a point there?
Yes, sir.
Can I add a
Please.
point there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
For our country and for a number of other countries where the rural connectivity is not that good, I must suggest one thing. Have you ever wondered why Prime Minister's Mann Ki Baat is on Akashvani? Because there is nobody who is not connected to Akashvani. In fact, in one of my interviews, when people came from Akashvani, I was saying, "Yaar, koi sunta bhi hai?" He says, "Sir, Prime Minister ki Mann Ki Baat usme hoti hai." So, Akashvani network, the network of which is available in your cars, Radio Mirchi and all that network. All these networks are available free of cost, and they are available to in a very reasonable price to everybody. And if we use these platforms for certain limited, obviously everything cannot be done through that, data cannot be transferred through that, I appreciate that. But some portion of educative programs can also go through that as well. And that's an addition input to whatever we have discussed. I think we have discussed enough media by now. Thank you.
Can I add on? Can I come in? Indrajit, can I add something?
Yes, sir, please, sir, please. Definitely.
Okay. Now, this requirement of continuing education came all of a sudden. Am I clear to everyone?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
All of a sudden, I am the Vice Chancellor of ICFI University, Himachal Pradesh. I teach a subject by myself because you need to know the system, you need to know the problems the students are facing. Also, you need to keep yourself updated on the subject matter. I have seen that, as far as the connectivity is concerned, how the transformation from the actual classroom to virtual classroom, how it has been, I feel it has been very effective so far. One, because the requirement came all of a sudden. All of us in higher education were at a stage where 2 months had gone by and we were left with 3 more months. And all of a sudden, when this kind of discontinuity came in, if we couldn't continue, then this semester would have gone waste. So there are a number of enabling factors which have made this whole process effective. Number one, the connectivity. Yes, connectivity is bad in some places like Himachal, Jammu and Kashmir, they got a 2G connectivity. But most of the places, WhatsApp connectivity is there. So what we did in the first week, we gave them the lectures on WhatsApp. We sent all the material on WhatsApp. Then the government of India, MHRD, UGC, they have been very enabling institutions for this. The Swayam Prabha lectures, if you are aware of it. Swayam Prabha lectures are quality lectures which come on 32 channels of DTH, and they are all being taught by IIT professors. So if you know the schedule, you can really get benefited by those, especially those who are not connected well. Those who are connected well, the applications which have come about now are all of them are effective. It is as good as the normal classroom. And I would say the government of India, MHRD, UGC have been really facilitating this kind of, the effectiveness in transforming from a real classroom to virtual classroom. And as of now, I wouldn't say that it is the replacement of actual classroom. Definitely not. But given the circumstances of COVID, the best that we could do, I think education sector has been able to get into that groove, and we are doing very well. I can tell you, we have completed 90% of syllabus by continuing education by using these applications, which are very good. So therefore, even for the research work, the National Digital Library books have been made available to the students and to the research scholars by Government of India. All these books, they can click, they can download it, they can study it. It's such an enabling factor. So therefore, from the normal classroom to virtual classroom, I think during the COVID, it has been a blessing in disguise because we have been able to continue with the education to very satisfactory level. There are challenges. These challenges will be faced now. We have got the examination coming another month, 1 month time. We don't know the assessment and examination kind of a thing. These are the challenges, but we are now working towards meeting those requirements as well. So therefore, the question that was there, how effective the transformation has been there, I would say we are able to manage very well, given the circumstances of being put to home, and we were not prepared for this kind of continuing education. When we came, our laptops have been left in the university, still using the smartphones, using the apps. I'm now also talking to on a smartphone. We have been able to continue this education in the higher education space very satisfactorily. And the research work also is continuing with the enablements which have been made by Government of India, MHRD, and UGC. Thank you.
Wonderful, sir. And it's really a very nice initiative by university and yourself as to take the things forward in this kind of pandemic as well. And unfortunately, I was trying to add you as a panelist. There was some problem which I was facing all the while, to add you as a panelist. My regrets for that. But I think you made all the points in one go, sir.
Thank you very much. I sent you a message that kindly give me a chance, but I think you're not able to
Yes,
see.
sir, no, but I was trying to add you as a panelist. I don't know.
Okay.
There was some technical glitch. I was not able to add you, despite all my best effort to come back to your profile again and again, sir.
Just give me half a minute. Just half a minute. I want
Yes,
to
sir.
thank Dr. Arvind Sharma, Neha Sharma ji, yourself, and all the eminent and distinguished panelists, His Excellency. It's a wonderful panel, and I've been hearing for last 2 hours. I think you covered all the aspects of future education, present education, difficulties, digital divide, digital bridge. All these things have been covered very well. So I must compliment IOED for putting up this very, very relevant webinar. This topic is very, very relevant. Kindly accept my congratulations and compliments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And it's really wonderful to have you.
Words.
Because of the technical glitch, again, I'll say that something happened, but my due apologies for that, sir. So there was one question which is, I think we have already answered. It says a lot of people not having smartphone, laptops, computers, etc. How do we come out of this situation? It was by Bhaskara Naguchu. I think that's what I think, Mr. Bhaskar, that's being answered by most of the panelists in due course of time. Then we have a question from it's from Ms. Kalpana Deshmukh. Will virtual education be useful to make each and every kid of India to take education, and India will be 100% educated or literated? I'll repeat the question. Anybody can answer this question.
Got the question.
The question is, will virtual education be useful to make each and every kid of India to take education, and India will be 100% educated or literated?
It can. We have proven, Kerala has already proven to be 100% literate. So India also can be. Only thing is, it is not what government do to you. It is, as a citizen, we have to find it out what we can do to the government. So it should be a citizen-oriented, driven system in which to make India 100% literate. Yes. Secondly, the subject of virtual classes extension is already been addressed. Thank you.
Wonderful, sir.
See,
thank you.
The virtual education has got its serious limitations, especially in when we talk about school education. See, it's a community learning. Children not only learn from what teacher is teaching, is not a one-way process. They also learn from the questions raised by other students. They also learn amongst each other. They also learn when they talk, they discuss. So it's a holistic learning, which I think virtual education may not be able to completely provide. That is what I think.
Okay. So there was another question which has come from Rupesh Yadav. He says, need to think of mass poor people only. Online will be tool and we should ban online degree to be given. I think this is a question, but I think due to pandemic, we have to think of otherwise. Right. So take it on that, sir. Okay, we'll move to the next question. It says COVID-19 is for change, nicely covered. That's what it was. It was by Mr. Ramesh. Then S. Sudra, is it possible to communicate the people who are in rural areas which are having poor connectivity? So anyone, so I think we have covered this particular question in different formats by all our august speakers. Then was a question from Mr. Ravi Naragani. Is the online study degree valuable as compared to a regular study? So any reply on this particular question, sir?
All certification is equally valued whether it is online distance educations, or contact programs. All certification from this, there is no differentiations. As on today, which I mentioned about, is that not the degree which matters as on today, it's the skill which matters as on today to prove yourself what you are, irrespective of what degree you hold. Thank you.
Right. Sir, there's another question which came from Umeshwar Singh. He says, human relations going to be expiring. People are spending more time on gadgets rather than relationships. Anyone, sir?
I think yes.
Yeah, can I take on?
Please, sir, please.
Well, would I speak?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. As far as the human relations are concerned, yes, you are not like a normal classroom where you meet the teacher, meet your students, and interact with them. But interaction is continuing now also. The virtual classroom is as good as your normal classroom. You have all the students sitting there; they are interacting with you, and throughout the day, the calendar is like that. The timetable is also like that only. Yes, to some extent, you don't have that kind of flexibility. You don't have that kind of interaction, but you are still keeping in touch. For example, in the university, we got mentors, and we got mentors who keep talking to their students. Every mentor has been assigned a number of students. So all these students are connected, and these mentors keep talking to them as normal and keep talking to them about their problems, about their issues, what are they doing, how the learning going on. So to some extent that interaction is continuing, but I will definitely agree that it is not to the extent that is normally in the classroom. So to that extent it is affected. But look at the larger picture. I want to submit to this panel that ever since I had taken over as a vice chancellor of the ICFI University, I never had a chance to interact with the vice chancellors. I never had chance to interact with the UGC chairman, the minister of education, the UGC secretary. Now with the webinars, we keep on interacting every 2 days, every second day. There is an interaction. At the top level, at the organized level, how you are interacting, it was never before. This has happened because of this requirement of continuing education. So one way it is a boon, but on the side of students and faculty interaction, which is an HR kind of a thing, that is lacking to some extent. I agree to that. But other than that, as far as the education is concerned, I think it is not getting affected. Only the thing is that, the things like labs, practical labs, engineering related kind of, hands-on activities that you are not able to do. But other than that, normal education is continuing. There was a question about distance education. I think there's a guideline of UGC of 2017, which makes it very, very clear that all these degrees are as good as the normal degrees. All those things, nursing and the technical part has been removed in the distance education, which was taking place earlier. Now it has been completely removed. All the degrees now which are being given by DEB through distance education are equally good as the normal degrees. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I think it's very important for all of us to understand this particular thing, sir. And one very topic we didn't touch upon, it's by Mr. Ramesh, and he says libraries' role. So what is the role of libraries going to be in this case of the virtual education? So any thoughts on anyone?
The point was addressed. The point was addressed that digitization of the national digital library is existing in the nation, or in India. So that library system is 100% available to us through NDL.
Right. Because Mr. Ramesh asked this question twice, right? Pretty interesting. Then there's one which is there is. I think we've already answered. What about the digital education system in rural area where communication is not reachable? We have already done. Then was that, can digital education replace chalk and duster system? It was by Mr. Ramesh Babu. If he can answer this particular query, sir.
Sir, all
See, it cannot be
pedagogies
replaced.
has got its own, all pedagogies has got its own plus and minuses. And this chalk and systems, through the virtual system also, you can use all the say video conferencing or video classroom or any Google Classroom. We can always use your pen and chalk and pencil rather than chalk. Pen can be used and you can write it down. They can make it. Effectiveness of this is always there. Thank you.
Right. And there's another question from Mrs. Rajshri Pandey, and she asked that what will happen to games and sports in the new post-COVID-19 world?
I think, with your permission, sir, I think this is an area which is a bit suffering within the last period of time. I was mentioning that I have 3 kids, 5, 10, and 15 years. So the kid which has 10 years, he is a member of a football team. So he, of course, he suffered a lot because he is not going to football because there is a pandemic, there is a quarantine during this period of time. So he is suffering because he's not a part of that team that he used to go and he used to make the sports over there with his team. But I think that there is going to be a solution over here as well with the time, and we will find the ways how should those kids interact. I would go back to the previous question about the human relations and will they disappear with the time? I think no way they can disappear. As soon as there are humans on the earth, there will not be any human relations disappearing. Yes, there may be some modifications, there may be some changes within the interaction between human beings, but it will not disappear. And because the communication among the humans is the base of their human being, I would say. So there will always be a communication between them. Another thing I would like to add on the online library, I think for many years we are seeing the books from physical coming to online, and more we will see on the way, and it will be maybe more easier to access to those books and to that information. So by what is available now, you just click a name and you get a lot of information on that name or on that specific item, which is more and more available for everybody, including for the kids as well.
May I add few points? May I add few points?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. Firstly, regarding the physical education part of it and the physical activities, I think there are enough videos going around. You can do a lot of yoga, you can do a lot of exercises, and exercises with using appliances which are there in your home. And I think that does help to some extent. Yes, the organized games like football and professional players, they cannot do things the way they were doing earlier. But let's hope that we do get time after about July or so. We are back to a system where we can undertake these things. Secondly, as far as the human interaction is concerned, now COVID has given a very good lesson. We have been able to understand the human beings perhaps much better. Firstly, the family is united. The family understands each other much better than what it was. You were getting much more quality time for their parents, which did not happen earlier as far as students are concerned. Secondly, we have also started respecting certain people whom we never respected, like Safai Walas, like Safai Karmcharis, like essential services people. Now, this was something which was missing in the society. And I think such jolts to the society, they bring some kind of awareness where you get into respecting such people, which is also essential, as good as the education is. and hopefully some positive changes are going to come on that. As far as libraries are concerned, most of them are digitized. I also belong to an organization which is a think tank, and we have a very good library. And most of the libraries are prescribing for e-books. Now, most of the universities are prescribing for e-books. It's only the question of now a little bit of perhaps effort required to give the access of those e-books which the libraries are collectively subscribing to the students. Once that happens, I think there will be no dearth of material. I don't think today on Google, if you are on computer, there is no dearth of material. People are suffering from info overload, which I keep emphasizing, and not because of shortage of material. Today, no student suffers from shortage of material. It is info overload which kills people, and not being able to decide as to what to read and what not to read. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And your point and His Excellency's point, there's another question very interesting. How do you tackle with the attitude of students during online classes? Is by Professor Guru Prasad.
Can I get the question again? How do you tackle the attitude of students?
Not only tackle the attitude of students during the online classes.
As far as online classes are concerned, I don't think there is any difference between online class or otherwise class, because the attitude of the student, whether he is responding to you, if you so long you can see his face, I don't think it doesn't make a difference. And the way he is coming online, offline, etc., other than the electricity problem or interruption communication problems, I don't think there is a difference in the attitude part of it. But certainly the sincere ones will continue and make efforts. The non-sincere ones, they were otherwise, their attitude was no different in the colleges as it was earlier. And this is where the competition lies. The sincere ones certainly get the better of the system, and people who explore more will get more. That's law of the competitiveness, and that law stands unchanged, whether it is online education or otherwise.
Right. Right. So there's another question which says that it's by Mr. Hemant Zariwala. He says education means teaching and learning. It's a two-way communication. Is it possible to achieve both through e-learning? Will it be only teaching?
The online learning, can I answer that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Yeah. Online learning is not teaching alone. I think that is a misnomer. Online teaching is very much an interactive teaching and learning. I want to give you a personal example. I teach mathematics to BTech students. I think mathematics is a subject where you need to explain things on a blackboard and make it clear to them. But using the screen, in the share screen, I'm able to show them what I have worked. They see it, they ask me question, because it's a two-way communication. They can talk to me. It is not just a lecture. It is not lecture coming on a TV. It is not so. When you are teaching using a Zoom application or Google Class, it is an interactive classroom as a normal classroom. Students can ask. You normally keep, like in the panel, you keep the mics off. You keep a control. But anyone who asks, he just switches on and he comes back and he asks questions. So the teaching and learning process is as good as normal classroom. And I would say the attendance during these online classes has improved. I don't know about other universities, but because the students are at home, their parents are watching them, it has been communicated to them, and it is going to be part of their final examination, the attendance has improved. Earlier, some students, they've got a habit of, going to cafeteria and all, friendship kind of thing. Now, the attendance is almost 90% of all the students, and it is an interactive kind of teaching. So therefore, it is not only teaching, it is teaching and learning process, and it is very effective in the given circumstances. I would say that it cannot replace the classroom, the blackboard, but given the circumstances of the situation where we are locked up, we are in the houses, we can't do anything better. And this is effective in meeting the requirement of students. Thank you.
Yeah, see, I would like to share here a practical, example here. My two sons are doing masters abroad. I was able to recover them back to India just in the nick of the time when the lockdown hit. All their education has gone online now. The courses that they were doing abroad is online now. So after about one month or so, I spoke to them. What is the effectiveness of the classes that they are doing online? And when I got a feedback, I went into taking feedback from their other students and also from large number of other children of my friends, families, and their parents, etc. The feedback that I have received, and it is not a majority feedback, it is a feedback across the board, that the effectiveness of online teaching on the students, I'm not talking about the teachers, on the students, they say is less than 10% of the effectiveness of the classroom teaching. This is a practical and my own assessment done practically by speaking to a large number of audience.
Okay, so there's last question which I'm just taking. So this is that making tests online, writing exams online. What is the validity of grading them? This is by Ms. S. Vasundhara. If anybody of you can take, sir.
Sir, if at all the exam can be on application in an open book system, in a limited time, we can fruitfully conduct the exam as we are practicing nowadays in my institute. Thank you.
And there's another question, sis, on the same line as to, there's a last question again. What about the exams and grading system by Mr. Ramesh Babu?
Can I reply this? Yes. We have carried out our class test and assignment during this last 1 month online. Now in the online, you have Google Forms, you got Microsoft Teams, which provides you with a proctoring during the examination. You can do subjective type of questioning. I mean, there are applications which will allow you to have online examination, proper examination, and the evaluation also. Of course, I am yet to go to that stage, but we are sure that we are going to do, because using LMS, using the learning management system, we have been able to carry out our class test very effectively without any. It would have been the same if you were in the classroom, if the university was open, the class test would have been conducted the same way as we are conducted now. We are using the learning management system, LMS Moodle, and it is providing us the the ability to carry out this test. Similarly, now Microsoft Teams, Google Forms, they permit you to have online examination, proctoring, and assessment by the, of course, the faculties. If it is it is automated also. If it's a multiple choice kind of question, so it is possible, and I think we are going to do, because if the lockdown period is going to be extended, it is going to be the only way of conducting examinations. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And Mrs. Rajshri Pandey, she just brought in that our school uses exam.net and assesses preparation for the end of the year examinations. So that's how they are using. It's really wonderful, ma'am, initiative by you. And with this, I think I have come to the end of all the questions which were there from the attendees as well. And at any point anyone has got or anything which is there, we'll always take it offline. We're all there and as a panel, and you can always query us. We'll reply back to you. And thank you very much all the panelists and His Excellency Gorbachi Shiril sir to be here, and along with General Malik, General Astana, Dr. Arvind, Dr. R.D. Sharma, Dr. Swati, then Dr. Abraham. Your presentation was really very well, sir. Very much required. And General Anil Malik and the other panelists, Sashikant and Dr. H.V. Singh. Sorry, we couldn't include you here as a. I think there was a limitation of 10 as a panelist, some glitch, but your points really made us a lot of difference, sir. And attendees to have attended this webinar, which was very the need of the hour for the on this particular point, and everyone is practically, facing this, whether as a parent, whether as a teacher, whether as a student, or in the government, or the organization, or the institute. This is the one question which is so important of the virtual education. And I thank every one of you for attending it, and I thank from the core of the heart to all the panelists to be here for such a long time, despite being a Sunday, and discussing all the points which were there, sir. Thank you very much, and have a great day, sir. And wish you success, sir. And stay safe, sir. Any
Thank
point,
you,
Dr. Arvind Sharma would like to say? Dr. Arvind Sharma would like to say something, sir.
Thank you, everyone, for sparing your valuable time.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And under your flagship, it was really wonderful, sir. And
Great pleasure.
thank you very much, and have a great day, sir.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Namaskar. Bye.